Grayscale halts investments in Bitcoin and Ethereum Trust. What does that mean for the price of Bitcoin? We're going to be talking about it in this video. But ladies and gentlemen, this is breaking news. I literally am trying to wrap up my day, get out of my office, spend some time with my wife. It's been a busy day. Here I am putting out my fourth cryptocurrency video today. You would think I made a living on Bitcoin or cryptocurrency YouTubing. I don't. This is really a hobby, kind of a side business for me. It is an investment for me, all the things I talk about on this channel, but I couldn't help it. This is big news. And the reason this is big news is because Grayscale has purchased something like 160 or 150,000 Bitcoin this year. Primarily, we're sitting at Bitcoin over $20,000 because of Grayscale's buying all year. I've reported on it several times in this channel. So now that they're halting their buying, when you see this, it's like, what could this mean? I'm going to give you my opinions in this video. It's a pretty short article, 3-minute read. We're going to go through it. But ladies and gentlemen, there's something in here I want you to see. There's a little bit of a buried nugget in here I want you to see. And that really speaks to the heart of cryptocurrency. We'll get to that nugget here in a minute. So investment manager Grayscale has halted investments in its Bitcoin and Ethereum Trust. Will the move generate a new buying opportunity? By the way, this is really nice jargon that says, will the price drop so more people can buy? Let's keep going. In brief, digital asset investment manager Grayscale has halted investments in its Bitcoin and Ethereum Trust. Shares of the Grayscale Bitcoin Trust are subject to a 6-month lockup period, with shares purchased in June becoming freely tradable this week. The halt is temporary. So basically, when you buy in, your money's locked up for at least 6 months. So there's some big purchases made in June. That money's been locked up for 6 months. They're saying, hey, that money's becoming available. What are people going to do? Grayscale has temporarily halted investments into 6 of its trusts, among them its Bitcoin and Ethereum Trust, just a few days after Bitcoin price broke $20,000 and surged to new all-time highs. Investment management firm Grayscale no longer accepts investments in trust, tracking the performance of Bitcoin, Ethereum, Bitcoin Cash, Ethereum Classic, Litecoin, and its digital large cap fund. The halts went into place as a 6-month lockup period for selling recently purchased shares of the Bitcoin fund, traded under the symbol GBTC, comes to an end. We're just at that point in the year where those windows, the public window, will be closing, and then the private window will be open. Corey Law, a spokesperson for Grayscale, told Decrypt. That has implications for GBT, Grayscale Bitcoin holders, but also for Grayscale's crypto buying strategy, where buying digital assets at a lower price translates into larger holdings and potential gains for the Grayscale Bitcoin investors. Shares of the Bitcoin Trust under the ticket GBT consistently traded at a higher price than the underlying Bitcoin due to buying pressure from institutional investors with few alternative options for buying Bitcoin. Even at a 30% premium to buying Bitcoin outright, Grayscale shares are attractive to traditional investors because they're available to buy and trade on existing stock exchanges and can be contributed to IRA accounts and other popular retirement vehicles. Dealing in Grayscale Bitcoin also eliminates the sometimes steep learning curve that comes with getting familiar with transferring, holding, and managing digital assets in native blockchain-based wallets or smart contracts. I just want to point out the fact that I talked about this in one of my previous videos. Right here, I talked about Bitcoin going to crash, and it was really a question. And the answer is no, I don't think it's going to crash. There may be a short-term pullback. I said we may see a 20 or 30% pullback because the price went up so fast. And in fact, we have seen about a 10% pullback since this video. However, in this video, one of the things that I mentioned was that people see Bitcoin as a store of value, and they will invest in funds like Grayscale, for example, because they don't want to own Bitcoin directly. They don't want to deal with owning a wallet. They don't care that not your keys, not your crypto. They're willing to speculate on price, and they're willing to pay a 30% premium. Now, think about that for a minute. Who's making out like a bandit here? Traditional finance, the company who runs Grayscale, think about that. They're able to buy Bitcoin. Don't you wish you could own a business where, I'm oversimplifying this, but don't you wish you could own a business where you could buy Bitcoin today for one price and immediately sell it to your investors for 30% more? Because that's, I mean, I'm oversimplifying, but To some degree, that's exactly what's happening here if you think about it. That's crazy. That's a lot of room for them to charge fees, administration fees. You know, they probably got some random exotic crypto fee in there, which is just a made-up fee for them to charge their investors. Aren't you glad you're not dealing with that? There could be another benefit to Grayscale for halting the acceptance of new GBT investments. Buying Bitcoin at a lower price, Ben Lilly of Jarvis Labs noted that the halt coincides with the end of a mandatory 6-month lockup period of GBT shares purchased in June of 2020. Shares bought at that time can now be sold on the open market to non-accredited investors who can't invest in Grayscale's Bitcoin fund up front, putting downward pressure on the price of Grayscale's Bitcoin. And since Grayscale's Bitcoin holdings is so large, now up to more than 11 billion, that downward pressure could carry over into raw Bitcoin prices too. So just for a moment, I want you to think about what they're saying here. This is the bit of a nugget here. Accredited, you as a little guy could not buy into Grayscale's Bitcoin fund. This was basically like a token sale or an IPO, which is initial public offering of stock when this fund launched. Traditional finance only allows those opportunities to early investors, to accredited investors. You can only get in early if you're an accredited investor. What is an accredited investor? According to Google here, what qualifies you as an accredited investor? To be an accredited investor, a person must have an annual income exceeding $200,000 or $300,000 for joint incomes for the last 2 years, with the expectation of earning the same or a higher income in the current year. So unless you're earning $200,000 or $300,000 married in the past 2 years, with the expectation of earning it in the next 2 years, you are not an accredited investor, and you could not buy Bitcoin through Grayscale. But that's because it was a starting up. And on the startup, your funds were locked up for 6 months. Well, now that the price has shot up, now that everybody coming to Grayscale has risen the price up, literally, it's just like a pump and dump, which is exactly what traditional finance claims they don't have. Now, as you and I, the little guy, should we choose to get in on board? Now, I say you and I as a little guy. I've never went through what is required to be an accredited investor, so I don't see myself in that way. But now, should we choose to get involved, who's gonna be selling? The accredited investors who bought in. They're going to be selling. They're going to be dumping on us. Think about that. That's pump and dump if there ever was one. It's the wealthy investors who got in, who were able to get in, ride the price up, and now should they choose to sell, they're selling on those of us that would be buying. This is unbelievable. I don't recommend buying Grayscale. I recommend learning how to own Bitcoin outright so you don't have to worry about paying the 30% premium. So here's what they're worried about. The question is price going to drop dramatically? It could. It could. I don't think it's going to, though, and I'll tell you why. Because in order for those people to sell right at this moment, we're at the end of the year, they're going to have some heavy tax implications. Some heavy tax implications. So if you had the choice to sell now or sell after January 1st and take profits and not have to worry about paying taxes till next year, I think a lot of people may wait. Now, as I say that, a lot of people may have businesses that got hurt this year. This was a low net income year, and they may be able to handle some profits because they didn't make as much money. So for some of those people, maybe they will sell. I could see a scenario where people would sell. But personally, I think we're going to see a lot of people hold off to after December 31st to sell. But we'll have to wait and see. And if we do see a pullback, I don't think it's going to be more than listen, in crypto, in Bitcoin, you always expect a 20 to 30% pullback. But at the end of the day, well, I'll keep going. At the end of the day, it's a store of value. That's the bottom line. If Lily's scenario plays out, buying Bitcoin for Grayscale's fund could be notably cheaper before selling started, resulting in more Bitcoin purchases for all investors. And since Bitcoin tends to lead the price of movements of other assets like Ethereum, lower Bitcoin prices mean lower Ethereum prices as well. Grayscale has purchased more than 161,000 Bitcoin since June of 2020 and has paused investments in the past when lockups were expiring. So it's unlikely the move represents a change in strategy or that accredited investors will be boxed out of the Bitcoin trust for very long. And if price predictions play out, those investors could be buying the dip thanks to clever investment management from Grayscale. So I tend to agree with that. I believe if we see a pullback, I believe other investors are going to be buying in. Listen, I made several videos on my channel already about Citibank saying Bitcoin could hit 300,000 by December. One person said Bitcoin could hit 500,000 by December. I personally have predicted 100,000 by next December. So I just did a video today as well talking about 4 reasons to be bullish on Bitcoin. This video was based off of current news stories today. I think the fundamentals in the world exist that we're going to see Bitcoin prices going higher. So am I worried about Grayscale? When I read news, I always think, does it change the fundamentals? Does this really change the fundamentals as they're going to play out? Personally, I could be wrong, not investment advice. I think we may see a slight pullback. We may see a chance to be able to do some more buying, but I don't think it's going to change the price overall. And I think if we see any pullback, it will be before December 31st. After that, I think this is going to be largely irrelevant. I think we may see some people taking profits. If they don't take profits, I don't think they're going to take profits into the new year. And I think we're going to see buying continue as we're going to see more people coming in. I believe 2021 is going to be an enormous year for cryptocurrency. I fully believe that. And if you believe that, if you believe in the future of cryptocurrency, do me a favor, make certain you hit the subscribe button, hit the bell notification icon, give this video a like. If decentralized cryptocurrency equals freedom, this is Crypto Wealth. I'm out.